This is the action potential stop motion video by
Lena,
Jocelyn,
Nashi,
and Michael. Hold up. Have you ever thought about what's actually happening during Jimmy Neutron's brain blast? Ever wonder what's actually happening when they show all these nerves in Jimmy Neutron's brain? Well, we're about to give you a general explanation of what is actually happening in his brain. Cell membrane starts at a resting state, which is around negative 70 millivolts. Then once a stimulus reaches the appropriate threshold, which is around negative 55 millivolts, depolarization begins. The sodium channels open and raise the voltage of the cell. Then once the voltage reaches 30 millivolts, depolarization ends as the sodium channels close. Immediately after, the potassium channels open and repolarization begins as potassium diffuses out of the cell. This process continues until it reaches about negative 85 millivolts, which is called hyperpolarization or the refractory period. Its purpose is to keep the cell from firing again too soon. Finally, the sodium-potassium pump brings the cell back to its resting state of about negative 70 millivolts.
The sodium-potassium pump is responsible for moving sodium and potassium ions across the cell membrane, which is an active transport process. It is also responsible for maintaining the large excess of sodium outside the cell and potassium ions inside the cell. It transports 3 sodium ions to the outside of the cell and transports 2 potassium ions to the inside of the cell, which helps maintain the negative 70 resting membrane potential.
word.
The sodium channel is used to make the inside of the cell more positive, and it's opened at around approximately negative 55 millivolts and closes at approximately 30 millivolts, while the potassium channel is used to make the outside of the cell more negative and is opened at around 30 millivolts and closes at negative 85 millivolts.
Botox is one of the most poisonous substances. Normally, the neurotransmitters are released from the neuron and make the muscle twitch. With Botox, it blocks the neurons from sending the messages, so the muscles never receive the neurotransmitters because they are blocked from being released.